Hey loves, welcome back to Day Spills Tea. I, of course, am the lovely Day. And I want to talk a little bit about last night's Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part 2. The first thing I want to say about the show is it was way too much screaming and hollering. Like, my tolerance for Candiace in particular and all the screaming and hollering is like really at its limit. So I think it's supposed to be 4 parts. I don't know if I can make it through 4 parts. I heard screaming and yelling, like, over everybody. Anyways, before we dive all into my comments and my thoughts and opinions that y'all didn't ask for, let's go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and show me a little bit of love. Drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on the reunion, particularly on Candiace's accountability or lack thereof and her teaming up with Wendy. And then also, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that. Hit the little red button, ring the notification bell. That way you get notified every time I post a new video. Now, before I get all the way into it, I apologize for this strange angle. I'm kind of like my desk is facing this way, but I am facing this way because your girl didn't charge her camera battery last night. So now I'm over here all janky with the camera all close to the wall because it's got to be plugged in order for me to record this video before I go to work this morning. So anyways, the episode starts out with them continuing the argument between Mia and Candiace, and Mia is basically like, you know, she essentially says that Candiace's butt whooping is long overdue. She also says, I might be the one to do it. I know a few people were saying she said she wouldn't be the one to do it, but it sounds to me like she said, and I might be the one to do it. There was also a moment where she was talking to Candiace and she said, and you better watch your back. And Wendy was like, oh, better watch your back. So it started off bringing all the heat. Now, I do have to repeat, and I think I said it in my last video, I do agree with Candiace that that Mia bringing her mom on the show put her mom at risk. I do believe that that is on Mia, not necessarily on Candiace. But I think it's also the same thing with all of them when it comes to kids. Unfortunately, any damage that your children might endure as a result of being on this show is on you, because you made the decision to be on the show. You made the decision to have them on the show. And that's another reason why I really respect Monique, because she was like, this ain't good for my family. Like, we don't need this. We're not about to do this. This isn't good for me and my family. And so she left, regardless of whatever contracts they were throwing her way. So, let's see. So, Mia was saying, since Candiace kept talking over her and wasn't listening and all of that, she was like, F her. And so Candiace starts basically doing the same thing that Robin was doing in Williamsburg, talking about, yeah, F me. I just don't understand the vulgarity. Like, what happened to class? I mean, I know it's not classy to be screaming and yelling and throwing shade and all of that and everything, but there can still be at least some level of class. I don't like the pointing. I don't like that at all. Anyways, so every time Mia is trying to talk and Andy is trying to talk to her and like Karen's trying to throw her some words of wisdom, Candiace is just yelling and screaming over everybody. And like I said before, I'm just sick of it. Like, I could barely discern what they were saying. I honestly had to rewind it several times to try and figure out who was saying what, because Candiace never shut up. I mean, she's really, y'all not gonna like me making this reference, but she's really like the sneaky little chihuahua who's just nipping at your heels and just barking. Like, stop. Just stop for a moment. Stop. Anyways, so I think Andy asked Mia. I keep mixing these names up. Andy asked the question of Wendy about Candiace's mouth. And Wendy sat up there and act like Candiace don't be doing anything wrong, which I find it to be so hysterical, because all through the season on all the little Bravo after shows, Wendy is so upset about Robin needs to pull Gizelle's coattails and Robin needs to tell Gizelle when she's wrong. But you will never tell Candiace that she's wrong. And I don't know if it's because she doesn't want to be on the receiving end of Candiace's mouth, or it's because she doesn't really have any other allies. So, like, she and Karen are fine. You know, they can talk about business or whatever, but they're not friends like this. Karen is not about to, like, go to bat for Wendy. She's not about to get into any screaming and yelling match over Wendy. And so Wendy is probably going to continue to defend Candiace and continue to act like she has a skill in reading and disrespecting people, rather than actually letting her know that she needs to calm down and shut up sometimes. So So Andy is telling Candiace, like, the ladies are trying to, like, give you, like, some big sister advice and let you know how you need to kind of, like, you know, maybe hone it in a little bit, reel it in a little bit. And she's like, well, to my big sisters, I say, I'm fine. I'm aware. Candiace went on to say that she's aware of herself. It's just that no one else is aware of themselves. Like, at no point is this child ever willing to take any ownership of her behavior. At no point is she ever willing to say, I actually was wrong. I do not understand that. Like, you're a whole adult with a marriage and everything, and you still just can't actually admit that you be wrong in some of this mess. It literally drives me crazy. So then they talk about Mia's social media becoming a disaster, because Andy's like, okay, at one point, Candiace and Mia made up, but Mia watched the show, and with her being a rookie, she'll understand that when you watch the show, you shouldn't hash back up the old stuff and start trying to go at people online, which is what she did. And Mia is like, yeah, I was a disaster and I own that. So they were like, so it wasn't your social media manager, because, you know, they, all of them. And so she's like, well, I do have a social media manager. And I feel like she was saying that, I feel like Mia is not quick-witted. So she often trips herself over her words. Not defending her, but she did keep saying she has a social media manager, which may or may not be true. But she still was saying, but I own what was said. So what's the problem? You know, and then she's like, well, I won't give them any time of the day. I won't mention them online. And so Candiace like, well, that's not a friendly answer. Chick, y'all ain't friends. Y'all are clearly not friends, okay? She doesn't owe you a friendly answer. Either you want her to address you online or you don't. Like, Candiace wants somebody to bring her to smoke so bad. And one of you all said in the comments that Candiace is just looking for a check. She's hoping somebody will go upside her head so she could sue, like she was trying to do with Monique and Chris. And maybe she's trying to do that to me. And now, maybe so. Because if I say I'm just not even going to, I'm not even going to pay you any attention, why are you talking about that's not a friendly answer? And Escala's saying the same thing. Like, you know, well, how are we supposed to be friends, whatever? Y'all was never really friends. And poor Escala, you done sat up here and got all dialed up. Your ponytail was really, really cute. The pink was really cute on your skin. And they asked you like half a word, half a question. It was like, you wasted a look. Like, Escala really, really wasted a look. Like, there was not much that we needed from you at this reunion. We appreciate you bringing the printouts so that you could let Mia see what she had said on social media. But Andy and no one else really, really cares that much. No, we don't. As a matter of fact, I think Mia was a disaster on social media, but I think it was funny. Her talking about Candiace's feet, I thought it was funny. I wasn't mad at it. It wasn't the same as Candiace going online and referring to women as roaches and things like that, or slaves or whatever. Anyways, Escala, you was cute, but you didn't bring anything to the table. I don't know if we need her back next year. Maybe. She did have the one moment when she asked Karen about her drinking problem, but everything else seemed kind of forced and we didn't really miss it, which is why it was so easy for Andy to dismiss her from the reunion set. Anyways, so then we move on to Karen and Gizelle. Their beef all this season was dumb. Gizelle had no reason to be mad at Karen when it came to the Jamal stuff. And Karen absolutely had no reason to be mad at Gizelle when it came to the race stuff. I liked that Andy asked them to both say something nice about each other. And it was cute to see Gizelle get emotional. And I liked what she said because you could tell that it was really heartfelt, you know. She mentioned that when they had the Reasonably Shady party, Karen was a class act in that when you visit someone's home, especially for the first time, you should always bring a gift. That's just normal etiquette. And she did that. And, you know, she got emotional when she said, and then you saw my girls and you jumped up to greet them and hug them. And I know as a mom that kind of stuff means a lot to me too. Like, I've had a friend recently who was somewhat close with my children, and then when the relationship ends with she and I, it ends with the kids. And you always sometimes feel like you didn't really want to impact your children in a negative way. So although we no longer have a relationship, it still kind of sucks that our children no longer have the same relationship, or that they don't still have this other person who used to be a part of their village. So it meant a lot that Karen made this gesture of, hey, I still love these girls, you know? I thought that was cool. Anyway, so Karen also told Gizelle that she thinks she's a phenomenal mother, which was really, really kind. And then they hug and Gizelle squeezes her butt and they like do a little humping thing. Well, Gizelle did. Karen was just going along for the ride. But it was nice to see. And I love that it wasn't fake. It wasn't like Lisa Rinna and Garcelle Beauvais pretending that they're about to be best buddies and everything is all good now. It wasn't. It was like, oh, but we still gonna shade each other. It's like, we still gonna talk about each other. We still gonna fight. Like, but that's their relationship. And they can do that and still have a mutual respect for each other. And Gizelle was trying to show that to Candiace. Like, okay, not saying that it's the greatest thing in the world that they still shade each other, but they can do it without going in the gutter. They can do it without doing things on purpose to try to be as hurtful as possible, which is what Candiace does. And I think maybe that's what Wendy is referring to when she's saying that Candiace is good at it or she sticks the landing. No, but she's not. You know, it's calling somebody big forehead or big feet. That's not sticking the landing. It's childish. Like, they are the same things that you would hear if you went to any elementary school playground. These are the reads that you would hear. You big head. You stupid. You big foot. You fat. Anyways, where was I? So then they move on to Ashley. I don't really care. I want to say I struggled to care about Ashley this season, but I didn't. I just didn't care. And I didn't put forth any effort to care. They talk about Michael wanting to go into movie production. I think all of us were assuming it was going to be porn. The only thing that I do really care about when it comes to Ashley is I agree with her that her beef with Candiace has absolutely nothing to do with colorism. Candiace and Wendy need to stop reaching on that. We have enough to deal with as far as actual racism goes for you all to be sitting up there trying to play a whack-ass colorism card. Wendy sounded really silly to me in this reunion. She didn't seem as educated as we used to feel like she was. She asked Ashley, do you believe that there's colorism existing in this nation? And Ashley says yes. And she says, well, how could it not be in this group? What? The people in this group don't represent the entire nation. Are you serious? And Ashley answered her very eloquently and very precisely. I haven't seen it demonstrated in this group. That's it. Like, you behave like a nut. Candiace behaves like a nut. This is why people dislike y'all. Has nothing to do with the color of your skin. Can we please focus on all of us winning instead of trying to grab at these little tiny pieces? Candiace is saying that Ashley is colorist against her because she mentioned her hair being dry. Are you really saying that people of other nationalities, other races and everything don't have dry hair? What? Shut up. I can see if she had said you have nappy hair or kinky hair or coily hair or something like that. No, she said dry hair. And we're talking about one statement she made about you having dry. Girl, shut up. Anyways, where was I? And then you know, Candiace starts to cry and talking about what you did to me was messed up. No, what you were doing to Monique was messed up. Let's be very, very clear in this quick moment about what happened between Candiace and Ashley. Okay. Ashley and Monique are friends. You were very, very aggressively trying to get her friend put in prison. Candiace actually said out of her own mouth, I wanted Monique to have to explain to her children why she is in prison. Okay? Monique went to her friend Ashley and asked her to write a character statement that would help her stay out of prison. What? So yes, in Ashley's statement, she wrote in defense of Monique, and she also recapped the story about Candiace wielding the knife and throwing the knife because someone mentioned her mother. Tell me where what Ashley did was effed up. Because to me, it sounded like Ashley was being a decent human being and trying to keep a black mother who's the same color as Candiace, by the way, from being ripped away from her children and put in prison because she gave somebody a well-deserved ass whooping. Sorry, I know some of y'all don't want me to condone violence, and I don't necessarily condone violence, but I digress. And if you're upset with me, drop it in the comments. Anyway, so Andy asked Wendy about when were you exactly Zen when? Because nobody saw you as being Zen. And she says Eddie gave her that name. And I'm assuming he did that trying to help her become Zen Win, much like he helped her launch OYE. And, you know, she's talking about OYE Home Essentials like it's her baby. But you already told us that Eddie did everything. Eddie wrote the business plan. Eddie reached out to the distributors. Eddie backed it financially. Eddie did anything. OYE is Eddie's business. But to your credit, Wendy, you seem to have a really, really wonderful husband. I only wish that you could be happy and not miserable as you appear to be with your wonderful husband, because he does really seem to be wonderful. Anyways, so Andy brings up Karen's candle and he throws a little shade about the fact that, you know, she was kind of like, I got a 3-wick candle, and she didn't even tell Wendy that she had this candle. And they did actually show us the footage from several years ago that Karen had been talking about making candles. And I think the timeline, the way it works out this season too, you would know that Karen already had this in the works. So it's not like she ran and did it just because Wendy was making candles. And I like that Wendy didn't seem to be like real offended by it or anything. And so then they also mentioned the fact that Mia came out with her candle, and Andy said it was probably like a level of petty that he had not seen before. Again, I loved it. When it happened, of course, we found out later that she had kind of lied, and then she tried to fix it by collaborating with the owner of the actual candle business. But I loved it. I loved it. She came out with those candles, or pretend came out with those candles like this. And it's so funny because she did actually end up partnering with the owner of that company, and she did actually make it something that was profitable for her and for him. And she sat there and said, well, best revenge is your paper. I loved it. And then you got Wendy. She wants to make this breaking news announcement that she now has a 5-wick and a 7-wick candle. And it's unprecedented. Honey, a 7-wick candle is a bonfire. Okay? Who needs 7 wicks on one candle? Like, really, how big is this candle going to be? I need to now have table real estate and everything for my damn candle. Girl, stop. You be doing too much all the time. The screaming and hollering at Robin's engagement. The screaming and hollering when Nicki Minaj comes out. The screaming and hollering at Gizelle. And like, you be just doing too much. The 5 and 7 wick candle. Dial it back. I'm all over the place. I know I'm not in any particular order. Wendy and Gizelle get to arguing too, because they talk about the fact that the same blog they talk about Karen talking about Gizelle's hot box. And Robin brings up an excellent point that the same blog, All About the Tea, that presented the news about Gizelle's hot box or any STDs is the same one that gave the news about Eddie. And so she's like, Gizelle didn't handle it the same way that Wendy did. It's a great point, because she's absolutely right. Gizelle just kind of like, well, whatever. She just like, okay, well, I just don't like Karen. But she didn't act a plumb fool about it. But Wendy confirmed exactly what I told y'all when this first happened, which was that her major issue was the fact that not many people saw that blog. But many people see this show. And so she was really pissed about the fact that y'all brought it on the show. And if you watch last year, and if you watch all the different YouTube channels like mine and everything, then you know that these ladies would have conspired to bring it on the show. We all remember way back when we were all confused as to like, this scene between Gizelle and Ashley was supposed to happen in the restaurant with the yellow on. But for some reason, it ended up happening at like Ashley's house. And so again, we all know that they conspired to do these things. So I still agree with Wendy that what they did was jacked up. Bringing the rumors about Eddie onto the show instead of leaving them on the blog was jacked up. And it was calculated and it was planned. Now, I think the difference though between that and what Karen did, because again, it was the same blog, is that it did not appear that Karen's was calculated and planned. It seemed like Karen was just kind of rattling things off, like spur of the moment rattling things off. Speaking of rattling things off, someone asked the question of Wendy, are your reads rehearsed? Yes. Of course she claimed no, and she's, if I can talk to the White House press secretary and eat her alive, I can talk to these women. It was rehearsed. And she feels like people are saying that her reads are rehearsed because they're so good. No, we're saying that they're rehearsed because they don't always fit the actual mood of the conversation. And sometimes the timing is really, really bad, which makes it feel like it's something you thought of in advance to say and you just had to squeeze it in there, whether it matched or not. Like, tick-tock, Mia. Why is Mia keeping time? We were all confused. We were all very, very confused by that. Anyways, so Mia and Gizelle kind of go back and forth a little bit. And Gizelle is saying that, not Mia, Wendy. I keep mixing these names up. Wendy and Gizelle go back and forth just a little bit. And Gizelle is saying that Wendy gave Grace a stank face. They showed it. And I can't really tell, so I'm not going to give it much energy. She was looking, but she just often looks pressed and upset. Like, she's often pressed and upset. So I can't really say it was directed at Grace. It could have had more to do with the whole situation. It could have had something to do with her hating on this or whatever. I don't know. But then Wendy is telling Gizelle that she apologizes to Grace. And then she said, but you need to apologize to Carter and Cruz about bringing this stuff up about their dad. And she and Candiace both have this tit for tat thing. Well, I did it because they did it, because they did it because I did it, and you did this to me, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just thinking, like, yeah, okay, sure. Gizelle should apologize for bringing this crap up. But is this really a conversation you want this woman to have with your sons? Really? Do you really want her to sit down with your sons and tell them, I'm sorry that I brought up rumors about your dad possibly sleeping with a white woman? I don't think that's really a conversation you want to be had. I don't. But I do think that you should apologize to Carter and Cruz, because I think you should apologize to them for having them looking real crazy at the beginning of the season, licking and eating nipple cupcakes. I don't know. Some of y'all thought that was cute. Some of y'all thought it was adorable. I thought it was weird. Why do you have your sons eating these nipple cupcakes, like, on camera? I don't know. I don't know. That was weird. Am I the only one who thought that was weird? Anyways, what else happened? So Wendy is still going in pretty much on Gizelle, and she's saying she feels like Gizelle mentioning her surgeries or whatever was rooted in misogyny and all of this and everything, and you're trying to say that I had surgery to keep a man, which maybe you didn't, but women definitely do. But she's saying you're saying I had surgery to keep a man and you had a tummy tuck. Did you keep Jamal? And I'm just like, wow, this is why she doesn't think there's anything wrong with what Candiace says, because she just doesn't mind getting into the gutter either. I'm not a fan of Gizelle's, but that was kind of, I don't know, that was rough. I don't know how I feel about it. I might be feeling some type of way about the comment because it was Wendy and I don't like her either. Because I'm trying to think, if Monique had said that, I probably would have been clapping. So scratch that last statement. Anyways, that's all I got. That was my take on this last episode of the reunion. I kind of feel like the third one, I feel like the third one with the husbands is probably going to be a dud. I don't know. We'll see. I'm really interested in seeing the questions that Nicki Minaj asks, and I'm really, really interested in seeing their answers to the question. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. I got to get to work. Bye.